I want you to imagine the current state of artificial intelligence, just for a second. Picture an intelligence that has essentially memorized the entire public internet.
Right. Literally everything.
Yeah, everything. It has ingested every book, every academic article, billions of lines of code, every debate ever recorded on any forum. So it is an absolute master of
Oh,
text.
without a doubt. It's incredibly smart in that domain.
Exactly. But if you were to take that same incredibly advanced AI and, walk it onto the noisy, vibrating floor of an oil refinery and ask it to fix a malfunctioning pressure valve, it would freeze.
It would have absolutely no idea what to do. I mean, it is entirely blind to the physical world.
Yeah.
Like, it might be able to generate a brilliant Shakespearean sonnet about a pressure valve,
Yeah.
or it could probably spit out a generic instruction manual that it just scraped from some PDF online.
Right. The theory of it.
Exactly. But when it comes to the actual physical reality of gripping a wrench, finding the right angle and tightening a rusted bolt in an airplane hangar, the most advanced language model on Earth is practically useless.
And that massive gap between digital knowledge and physical reality is the entire focus of our deep dive today.
It's a fascinating shift to watch.
It really is. Because you've been tracking the rapid commoditization of large language models for a while now. So we curated this specific, highly revealing press release for you today. It answers the exact strategic question you've probably been asking, which is, what happens to enterprise value when the digital AI brain basically becomes free?
Right. And to answer that, we are looking at a launch announcement dated today, June 30, 2026, from a company called EON AI Ventures. They're unveiling a platform called EON Universal.
Which is a huge deal on its own.
It is, yeah. But what makes this document essential reading isn't just the software itself, It's the broader macroeconomic shift it signals. And, well, there's also a completely fascinating internal note, like a major operational leak accidentally left right in the middle of the text.
Oh, man, yeah, we will definitely get to that leak because it completely gives away exactly who is quietly adopting this technology, and it exposes the massive scale of what's going on here.
It's wild that they left it in.
Truly. But to start, we need to understand the premise of EON's move here. They are pivoting away from processing digital bits, and they're moving aggressively into the realm of physical atoms.
It's taking a claim on a brand new category.
Right, a new enterprise software category they're calling work intelligence. So before we even look at the software itself, let's talk about why this pivot is happening right now in the summer of 2026.
Well, you have to look at the underlying economics of the AI industry. I mean, the first era of AI was entirely focused on learning from what the source material calls a, quote, thin slice of reality made of bits.
Meaning just the internet.
Right, exactly. Tech companies spent hundreds of billions of dollars building these massive foundational models to parse all that text. But the industry consensus has definitively shifted now. Those foundational models are basically becoming a commodity.
Yeah, the document specifically notes that open-weight models are now rivaling frontier models at a fraction of the cost.
Which is a game changer.
It is. And just for the listener, open weight essentially means the underlying architecture and parameters of the AI are freely available. You don't have to pay a massive tech giant to use their proprietary brain anymore.
Which completely upends the entire business model. Because if the core intelligence engine is basically free, well, then the AI model itself can't be your competitive moat anymore.
Right. Anyone can just spin one up.
Exactly. So EON AI Ventures recognized that the durable value has shifted away from the algorithm and toward proprietary data, specifically physical work data, and the continuous learning loop an enterprise can build around it.
Because that's where the real risk is.
Yeah, they point out that industrial value and industrial risk live entirely in the physical world. Yet almost none of that physical world has ever been captured as actionable intelligence.
Okay, let me test an analogy on you here to make sure we're visualizing this market dynamic correctly.
Yeah, go for it.
Let's look at the restaurant industry. So imagine suddenly, overnight, every single person on Earth gets free access to the exact same world-class culinary textbook.
Okay.
It contains every recipe, every chemical reaction, every cooking technique ever written down. That textbook is basically the commoditized AI model.
Right, and because everyone has the book, you can no longer compete just by knowing what's in it.
Exactly. So the only way you, as a restaurant owner, can stand out and build a defensible business moat is by owning a proprietary top-secret kitchen.
I see where you're going with this.
You need to capture the actual physical experience of your master chefs cooking in that specific kitchen, like dealing with the humidity on a Tuesday, or the slight variations in those specific ovens, or the exact flick of the wrist they use to flip a crepe. That physical, unwritten experience becomes your exclusive competitive advantage.
That captures the dynamic perfectly, honestly. The recipes are free, but the physical execution is invaluable.
Right.
EON AI Ventures saw that the actual work that runs a petroleum refinery or a pharmaceutical plant or an aviation hangar, it was never actually written down. It's tacit knowledge.
It's all locked up.
Yeah, it's locked in the muscle memory of the workers.
Yeah.
So EON Universal is built to be the platform where massive enterprises capture that proprietary physical work data.
Which leads directly into this very aggressive claim they are making in the release. They aren't just launching like a new app. They are formally staking out work intelligence as the fourth enterprise system of record.
Yeah, they're calling it the understanding layer for the physical world.
Right, and that phrase, system of record, I mean, that is the holy grail in enterprise software.
It absolutely is.
They want work intelligence to sit right alongside the big three that run the corporate world today. You have ERP, which tracks your money and supply chain. You have CRM, which tracks your customer relationships. And you have PLM, tracking product life cycles.
And now work intelligence for physical work.
Exactly. EON wants this to be the central nervous system that tracks how physical work is actually performed. But I got to push back on this premise just a little bit.
Oh, where do you see the flaw?
Well, I mean, companies have been digitizing their standard operating procedures for decades now. You walk onto a modern construction site or a factory floor today, and the workers have these ruggedized iPads.
They really do?
They have digital checklists, augmented reality overlays, cloud-connected manuals. So why is work intelligence a completely new system of record? Isn't this just like a fancy AI-powered digital filing cabinet for PDFs?
I totally see the skepticism there. But Dan Lajerskar, he's the founder and chairman of EON AI Ventures. He actually addresses that exact critique in the release.
Okay, what's his counter to that?
The distinction he draws is pretty fundamental.
Yeah.
He points out that everyone else simply digitizes the procedures you already have. But the fundamental flaw is that those existing procedures, those PDFs on the iPads, they do not reflect reality.
Wait, in what way? They're the official manuals.
Because the actual work that runs a facility isn't fully documented. Like, think about it. A written manual tells a worker to turn a specific pressure valve to 40 psi, right?
Right.
What the manual doesn't tell you is that this specific valve on this specific pipe in this specific facility, well, it sticks slightly because of the ambient humidity.
Oh, I see.
So to get it to catch without stripping the threading, the worker actually has to jiggle the wrench at a precise 45-degree angle while applying downward pressure. That is the unwritten physical reality of the job.
Okay, wow. Yeah, I see the distinction between theory and practice there. The manual is the theory, but the physical execution is the reality. But let's be practical here for a second.
Sure.
Humans are terrible sensors. I mean, we look away, we get distracted, our hands literally block our own field of view while we're working. So how on earth do you capture a jiggle of a wrench?
It is a fair question.
You can't just type that into a database easily. And how does a camera capture a precise mechanical action if the worker's own body is in the way?
Well, it requires a major leap in spatial computing, which Lajerskar explains. They capture this unwritten intelligence using a human wearing smart glasses as the primary sensor.
Okay, a smart glasses.
Yeah, but it's not just recording a flat 2D video. That wouldn't work. The glasses are capturing dense spatial data. They're tracking eye movement, hand positioning, and they're mapping the entire 3D environment in real time as the expert worker performs the task.
So the human acts as the mobile conduit.
Exactly, moving through the physical space.
Okay, so the human worker is basically digitizing their own physical expertise organically just by doing their normal job while wearing these glasses.
Yes.
It really is like a motion capture studio, but for industrial labor instead of Hollywood actors.
That is a great way to put it. That's the top-down capture mechanism. But capturing spatial data is only half the equation, right? Because, as you pointed out, if you just record a video or map a point cloud, the AI still doesn't actually understand what it's looking at.
Right, yeah. Like if I put on smart glasses and film myself fixing the alternator in my car, the camera lens doesn't know what an alternator is. It just registers shiny metal and some grease.
Exactly.
So how does EON Universal actually comprehend the physical components it's looking at through those lenses?
This is where the mechanics of EON's understanding layer come into play, and it is highly sophisticated. The source material outlines this dual approach. It pairs that top-down spatial capture of the human wearing the glasses with a bottom-up system they call the Work Intelligence Library.
Ah, okay. So the library is what gives the AI its vocabulary.
Precisely. The library contains roughly 50 core component classes that can logically compose basically any industrial facility in the world.
Like what kinds of components?
Think of the fundamental building blocks of heavy industry. Pumps, valves, motors, electrical panels, heat exchangers.
Got it.
But it's not just a simple dictionary of names. Each of those component classes carries a super dense 6-layer competence record.
Okay, the 6 layers, let me pull that up. The release lists them as identity, geometry, anatomy, function, behavior, and procedure.
Right.
Let's break down how this actually works in practice, because this seems to be the core of their technological moat.
Yeah, let's walk through a micro scenario to illustrate it. Imagine a pipe bursts in a facility, and a worker wearing the glasses looks at the affected junction. The system first registers the identity, right? Like, what exactly is this thing?
Okay, so it identifies it as, say, a high-pressure gate valve.
Exactly. Then comes geometry. What is its exact shape and size in 3D space? This is crucial because it allows the AI to overlay digital instructions perfectly onto the physical object without misalignment.
Wow, okay. Then we get deeper with anatomy. So what are the internal parts? The AI knows there's a delicate rubber seal inside that metal casing.
Right, it knows what's inside.
Anime?
And then function. What is its actual purpose in the plant? It regulates flow to the secondary cooling tower.
And behavior. How does it act under stress? Like the AI knows that rubber seal will melt if the internal temperature exceeds 200 degrees.
Exactly. And finally, procedure. What is the exact approved sequence of actions required to shut it down safely?
You know, this whole 6-layer thing, it really reminds me of a medical student preparing for surgery.
Oh, how so?
Well, before they ever walk into an operating room and look at a real human patient, they've spent years studying anatomy textbooks, right? They know the exact geometry of the human heart, the anatomy of the ventricles, the function of the valves, and the behavior of the circulatory system under anesthesia.
Right, they have built a foundational mental model of the human body.
Exactly. So when that surgical resident finally looks at a real patient on the table, they aren't just seeing a random collection of tissue. They immediately recognize the specific organs, they know the constraints, and they know exactly how they are supposed to behave.
That's a perfect parallel.
So EON is giving the AI that exact same rigorous foundational education, but for industrial equipment. When the AI looks through those smart glasses, it isn't just seeing a generic pipe and a wrench. EON already intimately understands the equipment before the worker even touches it.
It's a very powerful framework. But, in high-stakes environments, you cannot afford for your AI to hallucinate a repair procedure. I mean, the consequences would be disastrous.
Right, absolutely.
So to ensure that this foundational education is flawless, EON anchors this 6-layer competence record to rigorous, globally recognized international standards. The document specifically highlights ISO 14224, ISO 55000, ATA ISPEC 2200, and ISO 15225.
Okay, so for those of us who don't spend our weekends reading industrial manuals, why do those specific ISO codes actually matter?
Because they provide ground truth. ISO 14224, for example, is literally the gold standard for collecting reliability and maintenance data in the petroleum and natural gas industries.
Oh, wow.
And ATA ISPEC 2200, that's the global aviation standard for aircraft maintenance. By hardwiring their AI's baseline knowledge to these specific standards, EON ensures that the system is industrially sound, compliant, and universally recognized from day one. It prevents the AI from guessing.
Okay, so having this theoretical 6-layer 3D understanding anchored to ISO standards is incredibly impressive. But getting an oil rig worker to actually use it while, hanging off a platform holding a heavy wrench, that is another story entirely.
Yeah, adoption is always the hardest part.
Right, so how are they physically deploying this intelligence without just getting in the worker's way?
They deploy it through what they call the intelligence flywheel. EON Universal doesn't just operate in a vacuum. It acts as the underlying brain for 3 interconnected applications: Genesis, Field IQ, and Assess IQ. And the way data flows between them, that's what creates a closed learning loop.
Okay, let's trace that data flow for the listener. How does the flywheel actually turn?
Well, let's go back to our worker with the sticky valve from earlier. Field IQ is the application running on the smart glasses. It provides the in-field guidance and captures the spatial data.
Right, the real-time stuff.
So the worker uses Field IQ, but instead of following the manual exactly, they use that unwritten technique we talked about, the 45-degree wrench jiggle. And Field IQ captures this anomaly.
Ah, so it sees that the physical action didn't perfectly match the written procedure.
Right. And that data is immediately passed to Assess IQ, which is the app that handles competence verification. Assess IQ basically analyzes the new technique. It looks at the safety parameters, the time taken, and the strain on the valve's anatomy. And it might determine, wait, this new method is actually safer and 20% faster than the standard manual.
And then it feeds that insight back to Genesis.
Exactly. Genesis is the authoring tool. Once Assess IQ validates the new technique, Genesis automatically updates the facility's master procedure.
That is wild.
So the tacit knowledge of one expert worker has just been institutionalized. The very next day, a junior worker puts on the glasses, and Field IQ guides them to use that new 45-degree jiggle method.
Wow. Capture becomes comprehension, comprehension guides action, and every action is preserved as the facility's living intelligence. That is a phenomenal feedback loop.
It really is.
But, a lot of enterprise AI announcements describe beautiful theoretical flywheels that never actually survive contact with a real industrial customer. So we need to look at whether EON can actually execute this at scale. Like, is this just a startup testing a prototype, or is this real?
Oh, it is very real. The press release details that EON AI Ventures actually brings 25 years of physical world asset intelligence to this category.
25 years.
Yeah, they have a massive established footprint. We're talking over 4,400 institutional customers across more than 80 countries and a staggering 136 million platform downloads across their group's history in immersive tech, simulation, and AI.
Okay, so they absolutely have the infrastructure and the legacy relationships to push this out. And they actually mention who is currently deploying this work intelligence platform.
Yes, they do.
And this is where we have to dive into that internal note we teased at the start. It is honestly the most revealing part of the entire document.
It is a remarkable editorial oversight to leave in a public press release.
Right at the top of the document, literally just before the headline, there's a paragraph that starts in all caps. Internal note, remove before distribution.
And obviously it was distributed anyway.
Yep. The leaked note says, and I'll quote it, the customer paragraph references the energy operators in general terms on purpose. Naming ExxonMobil or Saudi Aramco publicly requires written communications approval from each. Hold the named version until that approval is in hand.
It's just incredible. And if you scroll down to the official customer paragraph in the text, it vaguely states that the platform is being deployed with, quote, two of the world's largest energy operators, including a global oil and gas supermajor now moving into the trainer rollout.
So the leak perfectly decodes the corporate PR speak for us. Those unnamed supermajors are explicitly ExxonMobil and Saudi Aramco. We are talking about the absolute titans of global energy.
Which is the ultimate validation of this technology. I mean, think about the risk profile of Saudi Aramco or ExxonMobil. They operate some of the most complex, highly dangerous physical infrastructure on the planet.
Oh, for sure. Deep water rigs, massive pipelines, volatile chemical refineries.
Exactly. A single procedural mistake in these environments doesn't just result in a loss of revenue, it costs lives. It causes generational environmental catastrophes.
Right. The stakes for their operational procedures literally could not be higher. They do not beta test unproven software on their core infrastructure.
Precisely. The fact that these specific companies are trusting EON's platform to encode their expert procedures to the point of initiating a global train-the-trainer rollout, it proves that work intelligence is not marketing vaporware.
It's happening right now.
It is a highly vetted, high-stakes enterprise category that the biggest industrial players in the world are aggressively adopting today.
They clearly see the macroeconomic shift we discussed at the very beginning. They know that capturing their proprietary physical data is the only way to build a moat in this new AI economy.
It's also an existential priority regarding their workforce. The older generation of highly skilled blue-collar workers is aging out of the labor market rapidly.
That's a great point.
If ExxonMobil can digitize the exact physical expertise, the literal muscle memory of their best engineers before they retire, that becomes an invaluable, permanent corporate asset.
Which brings us to the core realization of this deep dive. Let's synthesize what we've uncovered here for the listener. The AI landscape has fundamentally pivoted. The digital brains, the large language models, they've become cheap and commoditized. So the new gold rush in enterprise technology is the race to capture proprietary physical data, the unwritten rules of the physical world.
Right. And EON Universal is stepping into that massive void, establishing work intelligence as the fourth major system of record. They're acting as the translation layer, basically taking human physical work captured through spatial computing, grounding it in a rigorous 6-layer component library tied to ISO standards, and turning it into a compounding living intelligence for industrial facilities.
It is a massive paradigm shift, going from managing digital bits to managing physical atoms.
Yeah.
But as we unpack the implications of all this, it leaves me with a highly complex question regarding the future of labor.
Oh, absolutely. If the digital facility eventually holds all the tacit knowledge, the power dynamic of labor completely flips.
Exactly. Think about the economic reality of this. If EON's vision is fully realized, we're entering a world where every physical action a worker takes is captured, comprehended, verified, and fed back into the facility's living intelligence. What happens when the building itself knows far more about how to maintain its own infrastructure than any single human expert ever could?
Well, you no longer hire a 30-year veteran for their accumulated experience. You hire a novice purely for their physical dexterity, because the enterprise itself provides the experience layer.
And that is the profound shift. The value of human labor changes from knowledge to mere execution. What does a labor union look like when the enterprise owns the literal muscle memory of its workforce?
It's a daunting thought.
Does this commoditize the blue-collar worker, turning them into interchangeable biological hands for a digital brain? Or does it elevate the global workforce, allowing anyone, anywhere, to perform with the safety, precision, and skill of a master engineer on their very first day? It is a very complex economic tension.
It really redefines the nature of expertise entirely.
It does. And it's something you should seriously consider as you look at your own industry's exposure to AI. The next time you see someone wearing smart glasses on a construction site, or in a manufacturing plant, or on an oil rig, just remember they might not just be looking at a digital manual.
No, they might be building one.
Right. They might be actively training the digital brain of the building itself. A brain that, unlike the purely digital AI we imagined at the start of our deep dive today, actually knows exactly how to fix that pressure valve.